Hey guys, Chris and Jason here with the HMB podcast. Today we are talking about a very important topic and something that I think a lot of real estate investors gloss over a bit, especially residential investors. It's the importance of valuing your own deals, knowing it. You're the one that's invested in this. It's your money on the line, maybe that of your capital investors if you're working with that sort of setup. But that is probably the most important number in the whole thing. What is this property worth? What are we paying for it? What is it going to be worth later? That figure right there is pretty much the whole thing. And I think that people probably depend, wouldn't you agree, people depend a little too much on third parties?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason this kind of comes up, and this is a topic that we've talked about a lot on video and other podcasts and things, is because so many people that I talk to on a regular basis, they come to us, they apply for a loan, and they're like, "Oh, well, my realtor told me it'll sell for this," or I'm gonna get an appraisal to determine what the value is. And unfortunately, that's just not the right way to invest in any asset. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be a stock. It could be anything. Like that's a high level task, is for you to determine what the value is. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not against realtors helping you, appraisers helping you, other real estate investors helping you, colleagues helping you. That's important. You absolutely should be getting third party opinions, but they're opinions. You gotta, unfortunately, you're the one with the economic interest in the property, and whoever has the economic interest in the property should make the final say. And if you're reliant on someone else to help you, unfortunately, you just don't have enough experience yet, and that's okay. But you got to learn from that and use the opinions of others to create your own experience. And with that experience, kind of will help you. And if you can't wrap your brain around the actual value with supporting comps and other supporting features, then it just might not be a project that you want to get yourself involved in yet until you can do so.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something unique like that that's really hard to get a value on, you probably should pass, because there are many residential properties that you can arrive at a proper value. It's not that hard. It takes some practice and takes getting used to the tools and everything else. But yeah, I mean, that is the business, arriving at that number and doing smart, safe, profitable deals. And there's a lot of info out there to help you, not even third party stuff, but just like data out there, like, tax record. Obviously, MLS is huge. Even Zillow's helpful, even going on Google Maps, just like checking things out preliminarily and aggregating data from different sources to arrive at what that, just using like ARV as an example of what that resale price is going to be. You can get there, do the homework, treat it as important as it is, right? Yeah. Spend some time, do some research. Don't just take the opinion of somebody who has $0 invested in the deal as your truth, as your, final number. Right.
Yeah. And a big part that I think is hard for people to grasp is being true to yourself and knowing what your game plan is. One of the reasons that I'm so against appraisals in general is, or maybe even real estate agents' opinions in general on some of these deals, is they don't know how well you're going to execute. They don't know what's going to happen. We joke about this all the time. If 3 people flip a house, they're all going to sell it for different prices because we're going to put different things into it. We're going to put our own stuff into it. If you can't compete, unfortunately, if you're a new real estate investor, you're not going to compete with a real estate investor who's flipped hundreds of properties before and knows exactly what to put in each spot of the property, and that's okay. So you got to be true to yourself. We've got a laundry list of stories. I mean, I remember someone coming into our office a few years ago, and he valued the property at $250. We valued it at a little bit less because he was a newer investor and his renovation budget wasn't all that high. And I was like, listen, most of these investors are putting $75,000 into these townhouses, and these are newer style townhouses. These aren't, obviously, budgets get into the 6 figures when you're dealing with city properties or older style houses in general. But I was like, you're putting in 35 or 40 grand. You're not going to be able to renovate this to somebody who the average is $75,000, and that's a bigger real estate investors doing that. And keep in mind, the bigger the investor are, the cheaper they can get these projects done. Typically, a newer investor doesn't have as many resources to get things done that cheap. It doesn't have the credit lines with vendors to get it done as cheap. And he came into the office and he was dropping price, and I was like, first off, you listed it too high. And he was like, well, there's 2 properties on the block that sold for $250, and I was like, yeah, but I don't know if you remember this, but like he had a green kitchen. He had a very closed floor plan, not an open floor plan. So just and again, it wasn't anything against him. He worked hard on the project and he did whatever he could to make it work. The problem is he just didn't know because he didn't have the experience of it. So yeah, I was open with him to talk to real estate investors. Oh, well, here's another thing that was interesting. He was like, oh, my realtor told me to list it at that price. So at the beginning, and again, this has nothing to do with like bad mouthing real estate agents, because they play an intricate role on this. But you got to use everybody as an opinion, and then kind of figure out exactly, what your game plan is to do it. And unfortunately, real estate investing in general is a very emotional business. It shouldn't be, but people make it emotional because it's about money, and they're like, oh, well, if I sell it for this much more, I can make $10,000 more, $20,000 more, and they they gloss over the important things and they think about that too much.
Yeah, I mean, newer investors especially are a little bit too optimistic. So a couple points out of what Jason was saying there that I want to highlight. One is, do your best to copy the best comp on the street, the best comp on the block. Do your best to copy the finishes and the layout and the stuff that they did. Don't do anything wild like a green kitchen. Don't do anything super funky. Like, you just want to, be pretty middle of the road. Look at what's selling. And that being said, don't expect to get the same number as the top comp on the street. In all likelihood, that is a pro investor. They've done 100 places. They do them all the same. They know exactly what's going in there in order to move that product. Don't use that comp. If that comp is 600K, you got to be a little more conservative than that. Go based on 550, something like that. Knock 10% off, give or take. And you should be in a safe spot there. Like, don't think that you're, it's selling for 600, you're going to get 610. Like, that's like, too many people call up HMB and think that, right? Like, we hear that too often. And it's typically from newer people, because people who have been through a lot of deals, people who have been down that road, they've taken their hits, right? Like, they've taken the lumps. They know that it's not always going to work out smooth, and they're more conservative as a result. But the people who have not yet taken those lumps are too optimistic.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, based on what your game plan is, are you going to hold it as a rental? I mean, if you're going to hold a property as a rental, it's going to be worth less than a fully renovated property that's staged, that's vacant. It's just that simple, right? It's just not going to be worth as much. You hold it as a rental. Are you doing a full Mac Daddy pimped out flip, or are you doing, lipstick on a pig project, right? There's no right or wrong. I mean, there's a lot of projects that we've been involved in over the years that we didn't do full renovations because it made more sense to put 45 grand into it than 100 grand into it. Did we net less money? Did we bring in less money? Yeah, but we also had less risk. It was a quicker time frame, and we moved it quicker. So, or we moved through it faster. So again, just things to take into consideration. But the important part of all of this is, just like anything else, if you're going to invest in something, you got to be the expert in it. And you might say, well, when I invest in my 401k, I just let my broker take care of that and invest in those, or a money manager. And that's okay, but you're not being a professional if you do that. Anything you invest
in. That's a passive investment. Yeah. That's a passive investment. It's different.
True.
It's managed by someone else.
Yeah, maybe.
Like usually.
Yeah.
No, if you're actively investing into one piece, at one asset, whatever it may be, like you said before, it could be a stock, could be a company, it could be whatever, real estate. That's your job. That is the job. That becomes what the job is. Know what you're investing in, know what it's worth, and know what you're paying for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you can kind of grasp that, and it's so weird to me that so many people don't. I mean, I'll tell you that, like, the majority of the emails that I get for real estate investors who want, looking for loans is, oh, well, I ask them what they believe the property is, because that's an important question, I think, for a lender to ask their clients is, what do you think the after repair value is, or what do you think the value of the property is? Because it shows where your head is, right? It shows where their head is. If someone says, oh, well, the property's worth 400, and it's like, there's no chance in hell this thing's worth 350, right? Like, it's just, red flag, right there. So you got to be true to yourself. And if you don't know what it is, let's say you're new and you're just starting out and you've never been involved in them, absolutely reach out to your real estate agents, absolutely reach out to other real estate investors in the area and get their opinion. And then take those opinions and turn them into, they're never going to be full facts, but turn them into as much, create the data as much as possible. And, it's hard work. I was talking to somebody yesterday related to, real estate investors in general. And the problem with this business is the barrier to entry is very, very small. And I think everyone thinks they could just jump into real estate investing and start making money. And yeah, you could potentially luckily, create some luck and get into a deal and the numbers work out fine. But keep in mind that the market's not always going to be like it has been over the last few years, right? You're going to have to make good investment decisions and really understand your numbers on these deals. And listen, we've been involved in the market when it was really low. We've been involved in the market when it was really high. So we've seen both sides of it. And there's always a place for real estate investors. Fix and flip, rentals, and whatever the case is. There's always opportunities no matter where we are in the market. But you do have to understand what you're investing in, and you do need to understand how to value your asset. And you got to be smart about it.
It's going to be interesting moving forward too, because as we've seen, as a lot of people know, like the market has saved plenty of people. Like maybe their job was okay, however they improved the property was okay, not the best, whatever, but it was going up, and then it was like limited supply and all that, and it's been a seller's market, and that saved a lot of people. Moving forward, there's going to be opportunity on the other side. So moving forward, by that I mean once the market shifts a little bit, starts cooling off a little bit, there's going to be more opportunities on the buy side. There's going to be deals that you can scoop up cheaper than market, which is where the opportunity is going to come. But you're not going to be saved on the resale. It's going to be maybe like flat, possibly even cooling a little bit. It's not going to be home runs on the resale, but you're going to get some really, really good buy prices. So again, the same concept applies. It might not be being absolutely, super dialed in on your ARV, although you certainly should be, but it's going to be on the buy side. Like where are the good opportunities? Where is that coming from? How do you recognize what the right buy price is in this neighborhood, right? And then when you see one, you jump on it because they're going to be there. So it's the same skill set, just on the buy side instead of on the sell side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree. And James's question, there's a change coming in the market. 100% there's a change coming in the market. You're 100% right. And we've thought this change has been coming for years. And we've been wrong about it. But I believe that just like any change, when it comes, right? It takes 10 years for a market to increase. And when that market drops, it could potentially happen overnight. So we've been very cautious about it, and we have been for a while. And you should be too, as anyone who's buying any type of asset. But again, it doesn't matter what market you're in. There's always opportunities, and there's always a time, there's always ways to do it. And you know what? Right now, it might be a better time to sell stuff, and it's harder to find some good stuff out there. But I mean, one of the reasons we do a lot of these podcasts is we talk to a lot of real estate investors because they apply to work with us on a regular basis and do loans for them. So we see what's out there, and I'm still amazed how many good opportunities are out there. They're not falling in people's laps. In the past, maybe they have, but there's still tons and tons of opportunities out there, and they'll continue to be. They'll continue to be, especially for those who are out there, active, creative, and they take this seriously.
Yeah, we saw one last month. It was surprising. A friend of ours, a guy who we worked with for a long time, bought a property significantly under market in Howard County, Maryland, where our office is located. And deals are hard to come by typically in Howard County, let alone in this hot seller's market, right? And he picked up a way under market value acquisition, single family, good sized place. And we were surprised. He said it might have been the deal of the year, based on that buy price. Yeah. So they're out there. The point being, they're always out there. And yeah, be as tight as you can on your numbers. Remember, this is your job. This is your job to know exactly what that buy price should be, what that sell price should be. And so take your time, do your homework, get info from third parties, but don't rely on them.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a hobby. Even if this isn't your full-time job, it's not. Messing with your money is not a hobby, right? You gotta be responsible for this. I've seen too many real estate investors throw too much of their own capital and too much of their personal credit on the line on these deals, and they collapse just because they were irresponsible, because they didn't do their homework and they were lazy. So, all right, guys, hopefully you found this helpful. If you need anything, my email is jason@hardmoneybankers.com. Chris is chris@hardmoneybankers.com. We're still very actively lending, and we have been for the last 13 years, and we plan to. So if you need a loan, if you need to chat, if you're kind of analyzing deals, want a second opinion, reach out. Happy to help. We have our main office in Columbia, Maryland, where we service Maryland, Virginia, and DC. And we also have an office up in the Philadelphia area where we do Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. So if you have any loans that you're looking to work, or any deals you're looking to buy and need a loan on, feel free to reach out. And happy to help.
See you next time.